On behalf of the Professional Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, I'd like to welcome you to the PBSCCS Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Messina.
All right, everybody, I'm here with Taylor Haslinger of the Toronto Blue Jays. Taylor, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time. Tell the listeners about yourself, if you would, please.
Yeah, no problem, Chris. First and foremost, thanks for having me on. You're a good friend now. Haven't known you too long, but known you for a good time. Started out kind of Olympic weightlifting as a child and younger kid. Kind of got my niche into that. Not like your strongman stuff, I guess, but a little different. Decided to go to Florida Gulf Coast University, only about 45 minutes from where I grew up. Got to stay close to home and with my family and friends. Interesting part about our curriculum there was in the exercise science program, the senior year is all online. So you are integrated with full coursework and then dropped into different internships. So my first internship, I was blessed with the chance to go to my alma mater strength and conditioning staff, Florida Gulf Coast University. Really just get the feet wet, figure out what this whole profession really is. Everyone remembers that first warm-up. It was not good at all. But that's kind of where it all started. From there, made the case to get a Boston Red Sox internship with you guys down in spring training of 17. That was really a lot of fun, mainly because usually they'd make the students go from performance aspect to some type of cardiac rehab or a different setting. Was able to convince the coordinator there to give me a shot to interview with Edgar Barreto, and I think Ben was there too. And that was a whole spring training of being in college. It was a crazy experience looking back at it. From there, went to the University of Kentucky, knew Joel Harris, athletic trainer on your Boston Red Sox staff during that time. Went up there for about 8 weeks. Before I went there, I interviewed at Weber International University with Coach Steve Razzle. At the end of my time of that summer internship, accepted a intern assistant position down at Weber in Lake Whale or Babson Park, Florida. Turned that into a graduate assistantship. Actually just finished my MBA this past Tuesday, and now I'm a GCL strength and conditioning coach with the Toronto Blue Jays.
First and foremost, congrats on the MBA. That's awesome. I know it's a lot of work that you've been putting in with school and strength and conditioning and still doing your own lifting and everything, so no small feat there.
I appreciate it. Reach out to Kirby actually once or twice, just kind of talk to him about how he balanced his masters during that spring training and a lot of time management.
Yeah, for sure, and that kind of plays into being a strength coach anyways, having to manage time, and especially in professional baseball, it definitely helps to have that skill set.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know you haven't really been in too long, but I'm sure you at least have some sort of good story for me. So I want to hear your best professional baseball story that you have so far, whether it's something lost in translation or you got through to a guy who speaks Spanish with charades or anything. What is your best story or memory that you have so far?
Yeah, it hasn't been long. Was actually thinking about this a little bit back to the Red Sox days with you throughout that spring. But some of the best moments actually have just recently happened in the last few weeks with the Blue Jays. The music is a big driver and can change the weight room in a second. Some of our rehab guys had some old rap or some old hip-hop on that the Spanish guys never even heard of. And all of a sudden it turned into like a small, controlled, but fun breakout party near the end to lighten up the day. They're doing like, I don't want to call it charades, but all these robotic moves, and it lets you kind of brings you back down to earth because, how much we all work in the stressors of life. But it's a small, great moment to kind of just see their personality, something like music that can just kind of connect whether you speak English or Spanish.
Yeah, it's one of those things that kind of goes, everybody knows like, okay, music is important and music in the weight room really means a lot. But if you know what a guy wants and he walks in and you turn it on and he just looks at you like, oh, okay, awesome. Now I'm ready to go. I've had, and it's whether it's Spanish or country music or old hip hop or whatever it is. If you know what the guy likes when he walks in and you just put it on without him saying anything, it honestly, like they're like, oh, awesome, this is cool. Let's get to work.
Yeah, it's literally like flipping the switch.
I agree 100%. So What do you believe in within strength and conditioning that others think you are crazy for believing?
This is kind of a tough one. I don't think I have an opinion yet that I think I'm even crazy for. I'm still just figuring it all out. But I think sometimes, especially with the world of baseball and what we do as strength conditioning coaches, sometimes less is more. I think sometimes personally and not only as a profession, try and bite off way too much than we can chew, especially in the role with me, with my level, where it's a lot more education and empowering them of why we're doing what we're doing, and just trying to turn them into young professionals where if you're not careful, you can get lost in the sauce, looking into the numbers, looking into the organization when it could rain all next week, and if there was all that planning out the window. So definitely less is more, and getting a lot more depth before width, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And when you're in Florida, you're definitely getting rain. So sometimes having to change that plan is a definite, not a sometimes.
Yeah, we had about 3 rainouts last week, and so we got 2 doubleheaders this week and maybe 1 more next week. So it changes everything.
Yeah, it doesn't change in the Northeast. You just get snowed out instead of rained out. I think we've had 12 doubleheaders or something like that with 2 more on the schedule. So I know the feeling of doubleheaders and having to change around what we're doing for sure.
Yeah.
So what makes a strength and conditioning coach successful in your mind? Maybe in general and then maybe more specifically in pro ball. I know, like you said, you haven't been around long, but maybe in your setting, you've got a couple seasons of GCL work under your belt. Maybe specifically there, what is something that you do that makes you successful?
I think it's not only just our strength and conditioning profession, like any type of high organizational process. It's a team aspect. It's working with player development, working with all the other disciplines within your field, whether it's mental performance, registered dietitians, your trainers. It has to be a really, really well spinning wheel. As far as preparation and planning, that can go great, but how well can you communicate on the fly? I think that's huge for the team. Whether making sure everyone's really on the same page because everything's connected. And then maybe specifically in baseball, it's just being able to learn the game, know the game, give them a real reason behind why we do what we do. All right, the old saying, if they understand that training's important, but I think sometimes we go and think, oh, everyone should know why this is important. When do they really understand why? Having those small conversations, those small moments of trying to connect things in the weight room, whatever it may be, to the game or some type of aspect of performance, I think goes a long way.
Yeah, being able to talk the language of the game and kind of relate the two, strength and conditioning and baseball, goes a really, really long way. You're with guys every day, and sometimes they're just, this isn't really doing anything for me. Those kind of conversations can really help with buy-in for guys moving forward, and even when they move up the system to the next strength coach that they have to work with.
Yeah, and even not only for the players, but everyone we work around. I think if you asked random people down the street or at a restaurant, what's a strength and conditioning coach do, or what do you think of when you see a strength and conditioning coach, you get a lot of different probably explanations and pictures in their heads. So understanding what do people in our own organization really know what we're trying to do on a daily basis.
Yeah, and in baseball, those definitions of what a strength coach is probably go even further for us that are in the game. We're the stretch coach, the weight room coach, the nutritionist at the affiliates. There's so many hats that you have to wear. So it's always fun to ask that question to random people or try to have that conversation. Hey, I'm the strength coach. What's that? Which hat do you want me to wear to tell this conversation or to have this conversation with you?
Yeah, definitely.
So what advice do you have for others in the field? Maybe younger coaches who are going through school like you were, or even just older coaches who have been around who just want to stay on top of things. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, for obviously being the younger strength coach in the room and in these type of conversations, something that really helped me was the different degree I got. An MBA kind of changes your lens on how you see certain things, and we had a marketing class once, and it was called like brand awareness and brand differentiation. He's butchered that word. And it's an interesting point in life, like no problems, obviously, but all of our lives are governed mostly by school deadlines, right? You graduate high school, you graduate college, you graduate college again, and now everything, that timeline's kind of gone. And for me, in graduate school, I knew there was an 18-month window of, I like to call it like my skill acquisition phase. not that that's done now, but it was a very intentful 18 months of gathering all the skills, whether it be managerial, trying to fundraise. Not that I'd mastered or become an expert at it, to be able to say I've dabbled with those type of skill sets. So when the time did come for this type of interview for that first full-time job, I was able to say this is what I've done, and I think it helped me a lot for my preparation and going forward.
Yeah, I got you, man. Being able to be diverse, and like you said, you're doing an MBA. It's just a different degree than just, hey, I got an exercise science in my undergrad, and then I got more exercise science in my master's program. It's just something different, and can only help you, honestly.
Yeah, it's just like, kind of goes back to the question we just had: is what is a strength coach? And you just said it, all the different hats. How well can you differentiate yourself from the other? Who knows how many other people are applying to those jobs? You and I are lucky, so lucky to be where we're at. You see all these type of posts, whether it's in SIG meetings on Facebook, and people struggle to find a job. And it's kind of eye-opening of how blessed and lucky I am to come right into this out of college. There's actually not even right out of college. I was able to do two things at once at the same time, with how lucky I got and how willing this organization was to be flexible with me.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I've been, in those conversations and in the room with, job postings and trying to help find people. And there's literally, 200 resumes on a desk, and it's what differentiates you from, the next guy that's applying to this job. And sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big, and, sometimes it's nothing at all, and you just get pushed to the no pile. So finding ways to help yourself stand out for sure will go a long way.
Yeah.
So where are you going for continuing ed? I know you and I are always talking about books we're reading and sending each other information. Are there any books you'd recommend or podcasts that you listen to regularly, maybe some seminars for the off season? Where are you going for continuing ed?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think a few months ago I kind of started to self-evaluate, reassess kind of the weak spots, whether it's your books, whether it's education, Spanish, whether it's actually knowing more things about the sport and the movements. And so instead of trying to information overload, trying to get a little more concise with it. Generally, I've been able to attend, I think, the last 3 events here in Florida on the NSCA state conferences, so those have been great, at least to be local. I think we went together at the Yankees facility. Big podcast guy like you, this one obviously as well. Love the NSCA podcast, physical prep, that's a good one. What else? I love books for fun sometimes too. I think you told me this one, Boys in the Boat, that's a great book. What's the other one you told me? The Arm, that was a really good book. So love podcasts, love going to conferences. Looking to reach out to maybe the NSCA Coaches Conference in San Antonio. They put on a great show the last 2 years. Those are some of the best ones off the top of my head.
Yeah, and kind of on a side note with that are you doing work with the NSCA in some capacity? And if you are, can you kind of go into that a little bit for me?
Yeah, looking to. Started working with the NSCA Weightlifting Special Interest Group about 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago. So working with about 3 or 4 other strength coaches across the country, kind of putting out some more information on using that skill and that sport and those movements to better kind of educate and give some more tactical and practical how-tos. So that's been really different from having to read more research, getting on the same page with guys from afar. Currently making a push for the NSCA Florida Advisory Board here in Florida. Looking to make this GCL role something a little more long-term and make those events top 5%. And then actually I'm involved with the NHSSCA here in Florida. It's for the high school strength coaches. It's actually fun how that happened. I was going to a few clinics during my graduate assistantship, kept seeing the same guy, and I knew him from weightlifting in high school. Before you know it, we're talking shop, breaking bread, and now we're working together trying to put on some of these clinics 2 or 3 times a year for the high school strength coach. Not because it's a goal of getting the high school sector, but just because of specifically my level. And the GCL, we're working with 17-year-olds. It's nothing different than high school and just the setting. So those things have been fun, and going back to the whole differentiation of trying to gain those skills and work with a lot of different people across a lot of different platforms.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's awesome. And like you said, it may not be high school kids in that setting, but it's high school kids in the age range that you're working with. And That's good, man. How'd you get involved with that? Did you just reach out? Did you just, go out on a limb? I know you said you saw the same guy over and over. Was it just, hey, I want to get involved. What can I do to help? Or was there more to it?
A little bit of both. Coach Rich Lansky, he's the NHSSCA state director here. I think we were just at a taco shop, and he's like, let's get it started. And he asked if I wanted to help. I said, yeah. The weightlifting SIG was a little different. I've always been into Olympic weightlifting, as I said, and it was one of those things where I put together a resume, a little cover letter, sent it out. I don't think they've had a lot of work off the ground previous to kind of our new committee, quote unquote. So it was just an opportunity where I thought gain a lot more experience and just kind of sent out the resume. I had a shot in the dark. I was still a graduate assistant a year and a half ago, but it was kind of just trying to take that initiative.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good point for the listeners, too, is you just never know unless you reach out. That's kind of how this podcast started for me. I was interested in doing it, and there wasn't anybody doing it yet, and I just reached out to the right people, and I was like, hey, I want to get this done. Here's, some examples, episodes. Let's make it happen. And it was a long process, but it worked, and it's been really beneficial for me, and I'm assuming the listeners like it, too, you know what I mean? And if you don't ever reach out, you don't ever know. So you could get turned away, but it could turn into something great too.
Yeah, that's a great point. You just kind of started something or do things that have never really been done before, and it can seem intimidating at first. You're like, oh man, will they like what we have to say? Am I qualified to even do this or that? And just kind of go for it. And at the end of the day, if it turns out negative, quote unquote, or you get told no, you gain the experience of the process.
Yeah, I agree, man. There's still days that I doubt whether I'm the right person to be doing this or not. But at the end of the day, we're more than 50 episodes in here, and it's been rolling for a couple years, and the feedback's been really good. So all in all, I'm definitely glad that I reached out and did things the way I did it, and I'm sure you are too with your groups there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to do a lightning round with you. You got time for me?
Let's go.
Biggest influence in the field of strength and conditioning, who is it?
Oof. I'll take the easy way out. Definitely a little bit of everything. I was at a clinic or a coaches conference, I can't remember what, but someone said, we are who our mentors are, right? I remember talking to you about the tier system on field 4 like it was yesterday on that napkin, total lower upper, total low upper. You take a little bit from everyone along the way, whether it's always the first internship to the people you spent the most time with to the role I'm in now. And even your athletes, like it's not just the coaches, like those athletes can keep you humble. They can bring you back down to earth and remember what's really important at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm a big believer that everybody in every interaction kind of, pushes you towards who you are in the moment and who you're going to be in the future. So I'm right there with you on that one. And that was a good conversation at Field 4, not for nothing.
Yeah.
One piece of equipment to train with, what would it be?
Tough one. I'm going to go weight vest.
Weight vest, really? I figured you'd be barbell since you're an Olympic lifting guy.
Love barbell. I don't know. Are bumper plates included with the barbell?
Yeah, it's a set deal.
Okay, it's a set deal. Okay, then I'd have to go with the barbell. Easy. You can do complexes. You can floor press. You could do anything with the barbell. I didn't know if the bumper weights were included.
They are for this example. Biggest accomplishment professionally and or personally?
Personally, definitely just having the opportunity to be an uncle. I have an older niece, 13, a younger nephew, 5, a younger niece, she's 4. Definitely just a unique aspect to get a small shot into what growing children are like and how it really relates to coaching at the end of the day. They're really they're really the best in my world right now. Professionally, definitely graduating college twice. Not many people in my family, I think, at all have come out of college before, so that's a huge step for me and the example I can make for them. Definitely the first job. You work so hard for 2-3 years in our profession. You don't have to go about what we all have to go through for that. Still good problems at the end of the day, but definitely landing that first job and kind of setting the career off, hopefully for a long and prosperous one.
For sure, man. And I like the idea of being an uncle because if the kids start to act up, you just give them back, right? And I'm the oldest in my family. Right now, my wife and I are not on the having kids page just yet. So I would love to be an uncle first, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I have 2 younger brothers, so it might be a while till there's some kids in my family. I know my parents aren't going to be happy with that one. But the uncle thing seems way better because if they're just misbehave, you just, all right, go back to mom and dad, and they'll take care of you.
Especially when they're young, they're sleeping, you still wake them up because you want to see them. They poop the diaper, you just hand them right back. It's great.
Last one, man. Any career other than strength and conditioning, what would you choose?
Oh, man. Probably some type of physiology or anatomy teacher, whether it be a high school or something along the collegiate in the college scene, some type of professor. Just like you, I know you and I read a lot of different books, always talking about what we're trying to learn. Look back at the mentors and the people who influenced you through school and the people that you still remember to this day and forever will. That'd be a pretty unique opportunity to try and influence students someday, but we'll see.
Yeah. Wear out the strength and conditioning coach thing first, and then when you're done, then you start being the teacher or professor.
Yeah, definitely could see that transition someday, but we're just trying to figure out the day-to-day still.
One step at a time, man. But I appreciate you coming on and spending a little bit of time with me. If the listeners want to get in touch with you, where can we go? Are you on social media, or is there a better place to get in touch with you?
Instagram probably is the one I'm most frequent on, at T_ and then HAS, the first 3 letters of my last name. Email Taylor, TAYLOR, .Haslinger, HASLINGER at bluejays.com. Those are probably the 2 best ways.
And how about the groups? If anybody's interested in your groups and they want to know more about that, do you have any information for that we can kind of guide them in that direction?
Facebook, NSCA Weightlifting SIG. It's a page. I think you have to be invited or accepted into it. You can go on that. That's a free resource. NHSSCA.us is the website for high school strength coaches and anyone who deals primarily with the younger athletes. So those are the main 2.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on, spend some time with me, man, and I'm glad that everything's going well for you, and we'll be in touch soon.
Appreciate you, Chris. Thanks.
All right, everybody, that concludes this episode with Taylor. I hope you enjoyed this one. There was a lot of really good information that he shared with us, and I would highly recommend checking out the groups that he mentioned as he's trying to do big things with those groups. 3 things that I took from Taylor: sometimes less is more, learn the game of baseball, and try to connect strength and conditioning to the game to help with buy-in from players. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again on the next one.